異世界
The Rebirth of the Malicious Empress of Military Lineage. Chapter 34, Winning. The examiners were up on stage discussing the results of the examinations, and the students below the stage were also in the heat of discussion. Today Shen Miao did not make a fool of herself, and that made the academy examination seem a little boring, but many of her classmates who did not look at her now paid her more attention. Humans were all weird. When a normally terrible person performed a little better, perhaps others would think that there would be a reversal of fortune. Feng Anning was somewhat nervous, and kept looking over at the examiners from time to time. For some unknown reasons, the few Darans on stage had a dispute over something. It seems that it is also very intense today. Fu Ziyuan laughed, but, for females, why should one be so competitive? They would not enter the official circles. He has some conceited characteristics, and was not afraid that the Darans beside him would be unhappy upon hearing his words. After all, some of their daughters were those who were up on the stage. The opportunity of an academy examination is rare, and naturally one would take advantage of it. Fu Ziyu said. Ninth younger brother's words are not wrong. Fu Ziyuan picked up the tea on the table for a sip before speaking. If there is any particularly outstanding female, ninth younger brother must pay a little more attention. Although he looked quiet, he was not one who was easy to deal with. He was secretly and openly testing if Fu Ziyu would find a wife with strong family background. Fifth older brother is joking. Fu Ziyu shook his head. Imperial father will call the shots for my marriage. I would not have a say in the matter. That was also true. It was the emperor that arranged Fu Ziyu's current tasks, and he rarely took the initiative to think of anything up by himself. In the eyes of an outsider, this kind of prince was simply overly docile, and had no ambition, just like consort Dong Shu. But, in the eyes of Prince Jing, Fu Ziyu's, it would always be different. There is only one life, and one would need to take a chance at it. Wouldn't it be the same with marrying a wife? Prince Jing's words had an additional meaning. Until the end of it, who would know what the outcome would be? Prince Shu heard the temptation made by his own younger brother to Fu Ziyu. His eyes shifted, but he did not speak. It was not long later when the examiners came out, and announced the results. In the kin category, as expected, it was Feng Anning that came out on top. Originally there was no one particularly powerful, and Feng Anning could be regarded as the most prominent one. She naturally was happy as she went up to collect the examination certificate, and happily came down to show it to Feng Furen. Feng Furen looked happy as such a glory like this would be the icing on the cake. Even the female would not be an official. Noble and rich families' children naturally do not lack wealth or valuables, but their talent and beauty would be able to separate them on different grades. Feng Anning used the academy examinations, and elevated her grade up a level. In the chess category, it was Bai Wei that came up on top. The records of the preceding chess match were shown from the people below to view to ensure fairness. Shen Miao glanced at the chess game, and repeated the moves in her mind. Bai Wei's game was meticulous, and could last the longest. Unfortunately, too much attention was placed on trifles details, and there was no better focus on the overall situation, which hindered the progress, and making it somewhat a burden. For the literary category, Shen Qing only got the second rank. The first rank belonged to Yi Peilan. Her poem of a blooming chrysanthemum's complaints was elegant and adorable. Even though it was a little excessive for an unmarried young lady to write such a poem, but Guangwutang was a place that broke through etiquettes, and was not too harsh on female requirements. Besides, the poem was written interestingly, and adorably, and not merely from a chrysanthemum's point of view, but using a chrysanthemum to voice out one's thought, and, thus, added another higher level. Shen Qing's expression was not good, but she was naturally not good at writing poetry, thus, was very helpless at the result. Finally, it was Shen Miao's group on painting. On the stage the examiners' expressions were mixed, and it was most probably that this was what the dispute was about. The females started to speculate that it was that Shen Yu's and King Qin's pieces had their own merits, and it would be hard to make a choice. After all, both of them were often compared against one another in Guangwentang. King Qin sat in her original position arrogantly as if she scorned the result, but the fingers that were holding the teacup stiffened. In contrast, it was Shen Yu who seemed much more calmer. She sat beside Chen Rikayu, looking somewhat coquettish and shy while Chen Rikayu looked at her warmly. This daughter of hers was intelligent and talented, and was as outstanding as her, well versed in the 4 scholarly arts. She would be the most outstanding one in every academy examination, second to none. Seeing her being that cheerful, she must be extremely certain of the results today. Shen Yu naturally had a well thought up plan. Her brush strokes showed strength, it was interesting, and even the conception of it was all thought out. It was as if she had found out the preferences of these examiners for her to always come out with the best works. So, what if King Qin looked beautiful? It was only to look at, and of no use. Thinking of useless, her eyes landed on Shen Miao, who was sitting at the side. Shen Miao had made her suffer such big damage, and she thought that Shen Miao would make a fool of herself in the academy, but who knew that she went through it safely? Now when the pieces are all displayed for everyone's viewing, Shen Miao would not be able to escape ridicule. Anyhow, she would be a joke, and a trace of comfort flashed in Shen Yu's heart. The examiner who was responsible for reading the results shouted out on the stage loudly, "Painting group's first rank, Shen Miao. Shen Miao, first rank." One stone created 1,000 ripples. Everyone created a ruckus that the names of subsequent ranks that were read by the examiner were drowned in it. Shen Yu's smile stiffened on her face in a moment as she looked at Chen Rikayu with an incredible look, and spoke with a trembling voice, "Mother, just now, who was the first rank?" "I must have heard it wrong." Chen Rikayu pinched Shen Yu's arm. Even though there were shock and anger in her heart, she ate a few decades of rice more than Shen Yu, and, thus, knew that under such a situation there will be many who would certainly watch Shen Yu's reaction. If Shen Yu was magnanimous, it would be good, but, if she was like it was a matter of life or death like before, she would be at a disadvantage. Although Shen Qing and Ren Wanyun were gloating that it was the first time that Shen Yu has lost her face, they were also shocked when that person was Shen Miao. They thought that the examiner had mistaken Shen Yu for Shen Miao. There was continuous discussion among the female side of the banquet, and naturally, there was an uproar on the male side. "What is going on? Why was it not little Yu?" Kai Lin suddenly stood up, and looked at his classmate sitting beside him. "Was it me that heard it wrong? It was that old man that wrongly read it, right?" He was not the only one thinking that. Especially the youths who were Shen Miao's classmates had a shocked look in their eyes. "Eldest brother, see, I knew that she would win." Su Minglang tugged Su Mingfeng. In this group of people, it was most likely that he was the happiest of all, and the fats on his fair face also followed along, and trembled. Su Mingfeng's head was also aching. Who knew that it was Shen Miao? Every year there would be underground betting for the academy examinations, and he bet Shen Yu for 1,000 liang. Finished. 1,000 liang were squandered away just like that. If Master Su were to know, he would tear him apart. Looking at Su Mingling, who was jumping for joy, Su Mingfeng wanted to cry, but there were no tears. Pei Lang frowned, but he did not look at the examiners on stage, and instead looked at the purple-clad young lady in the middle of the female side of the banquet. She was exceptionally calm, and was indifferent to all the surprises and doubts from others. She had long known that she would win,